host, Red Setter Farm. What's going on, brother? How's it going, man?
What's going on tonight, Scobo? How you doing tonight, man?
Good. Before we started here, we were just getting into a meat and potatoes conversation. And I said, oh, shit, we should really stop and we should record this.
Yeah, we started going all the way back to 2008, talking about how it...
Go ahead. Pick it up where we were at right there.
I think that we should start where you were.
Okay.
With,
talking about brain fog?
Talk about brain fog and how you weren't really a regular cannabis user. You had some pain issues, and take it away, man.
Yeah, just to go back in time, I have destroyed my neck and my back from years ago, and I choose to use cannabis as my basic sole way to treat what ails me. And I was telling him about how one of the worst things about it was that I used to get brain fog, and I asked him if he knew what that was. And I told him that in my experience, that brain fog usually stems from one of three things. It's usually very, very high extreme pain, or it can be from stress, or it can be from a lack of sleep, or it can be from a combination of any of those three things for me. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be one. I don't even play one on TV. I'm just a guy that's trying to use cannabis to help him help himself. So I'll get that caveat out of the way right now. But we had spoke about how Sequence has found a clone of AK-47 for me, and how excited I was, because that was the second strain that I ever grew, the first one being Nirvana's Papaya. So I used to use the AK. Mine was extremely piney, so that would be high in pinene. And the reason that works so well for the brain fog is because alpha-pinene is good for mental clarity, focus. We've talked about this at length through a lot of different shows, so I'm not going to bore our regular listeners with it. Look into it. And I was saying how my friends would come over, and I would be sitting there just not doing well, man, brain fog. My friends would come by. My wife would let them in, and we'd go out on the back deck, and they would get me right. Just back then, just a couple, 3 puffs, man, because, at this point, I got young kids. I'm not a grower. I've smoked since I was a kid, but you know what I mean? You get older, you get a family, you're not in the scene the way that you would have been maybe, in your late teens and early 20s. So to make a long story short, that was how we got on the topic of what brought me into this and talking about using cannabis as my own way to treat myself. So bringing you back up to speed. Red, go ahead and take it away with the 2008 bit.
Yeah, and it was you talking about that AK-47 and that Ultra Pine, and I remember it like a pine and real light fluorescent yellow, very low leaf to calyx ratio, swollen calyx flower, man.
But it's not a big plant. It's not a huge yielder. You know what I mean? You're not going to break any records if you run an AK. But the smoke is very, very nice for me, And I know that a lot of people used to like it in the past. I don't know. Interesting, man. Just those strains of yesteryear. You really think about how many different trends that there have been. I mean, we're seeing trends change within the span of a year, where everyone was talking about, glue, and then everyone was talking about cookies, and then everyone was talking about all the orange strains, and everyone was talking about the cakes and the ice creams and the gelatos, and you know what I mean? They're not the same strains, but we're going even more rapid as things are changing. Interesting.
Well, yeah, and that was kind of what was leading me back to pre-2008, when it was you had weed, you had regs, and it was usually some type of brick weed. Every now and then it was nice and green and had some type of a structure to it. It usually had seeds in it always, and then you could get chronic, or you could get hydro, and that was usually seedless Sensimilia. That was a fluffier bud. Sometimes, usually, you could tell that it was still probably packaged in some way, but it wasn't what we're used to, this nice cotton ball marshmallow type of fluffy ball. Nonetheless, like this AK-47 that I recall from 2008 is still till this day probably some of the finest smoke that I've had. It definitely came from a good grower. I believe it was coming from a local grower, which was even better. I knew it wasn't coming far, and that's probably why it was some of the best smoke that I had, because up until then it was all like what we would call bushweed or whatever it
It
was.
had traveled a few miles before it came to you and had time to degrade and oxidize and get smashed up and
Tastes like
damaged and
ammonia.
everything else.
Yep. And you know, it was also in 2008, 2009, a little bit more in 2010 when the market in the medical market started becoming available. I started seeing more names of different strains. I started seeing the Apollo. I started seeing the OGs, and I started seeing some of these other strains that were coming through, and it was no longer whatever you could get your hands on. It wasn't chronic hydro, because none of it would whoever was getting it just had whatever name from it, and it was usually like, I don't know.
It didn't have a name. It's weed.
It didn't have a name.
It's weed.
It was strawberry because they'd put strawberry drops in it or something, or it was whatever.
Quit trying to be
flavor.
fancy, right? Just smoke it.
Yep. So that's what we had prior to then, and then like what you're talking about, Scobo, being able to dial in your pain, man, that really came post 2008 when I started experimenting with these different strains. I really started seeing the effects that they had, and that's what led me into like just deep diving into it, man.
I can remember being like 17, and there used to be a bunch of dudes that I used to run with. This one dude, he had this place in a band, you know, so everybody would mob up at his house and shit, and there'd be 20, 25 people over there. And then this girl came back from Colorado, and she had brought some Northern Lights with her. And I had never, this is like 1990 probably. Yeah, man, like 90. And yeah, I'm old. It's cool. The first time that I ever smoked that, it was like me and 3 or 4 other dudes, man. Just a regular ass size joint. That hit me so hard. Back then I didn't even know. We used to just talk about cottonmouth and shit like that. But this shit had like such a couch lock effect on me versus what I was used to smoking at that point. I can remember just sitting there in this couch, man, just like feeling like FDR, like paralyzed from the waist down and shit. Like, holy fuck, man, what in the world is this? Going out in the kitchen, rummaging around. Of course, it's some broke ass dude that's doing no better than we are. Find like a can of tuna, some fucking lemon pepper, and have at it. Then you can't swallow, so you know it's a good time. I had by all.
I got to agree, man. I don't know if it was a tolerance thing. I'm sure it had
to be a tolerance thing, bro.
It had to be a tolerance thing. But I there was some really, really good weed a long time ago, just the same.
The first time that you smoked
I'm not talking about, I wasn't around in like, I wasn't even around like smoking weed in the 80s because I was born in the 80s, right? So like I can't go back that far and judge.
It's all relative.
I can go back to the 90s and judge, which there's some good weed, you know? Anyways,
the first time that you smoke something that fucking rings your bell, bro, you always remember it. You're like, man, I've just never had that kind of effect from smoking before. Wow.
A lot of it was also that flavor too. It was really smooth. I don't know if it was necessarily like all the pine that it was, or if it was the like the essence of it, like the actual like fluff of it. Like it was just so.
Now we're getting back to our original point that we really started talking about, which was DJ Short's Blueberry. That's how we got on this topic before we started with recording. So we've come full circle, people. It just doesn't seem like it.
That was another one of those ones that I just happened to come across. And
you know, they say that's like really, really, really old. Like I should have come in contact with that like in the 80s, and nobody was kicking down the really, really good stuff back then with me. So I was on the outskirts of it.
Yeah, story goes he originally bred it
late 70s,
sometime late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And then he lost it. and he ended up recreating it around the late 90s, early 2000s, and that's where
And the lineage on that is weird, where it just goes back to that whole Thai and Afghani and stuff like that, where we're
it's
just
Thai and
doing
Afghani.
regions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if his Hawaiian's in it either, but he has some like Hawaiian strains and stuff that
Mexican
kind of tie into this. Yeah, man. I don't know if you want to call them land races or what, or selected cultivars. Yeah, but
Selected
man.
cultivars, because they are being tended. You know what I mean?
Totally. But he definitely got his hands on some good stock. Yeah. So that early 2000s fragrance was the one that I was really familiar with. I was like, and just for years, I could never get my hands on it. I was never really into paying $20 for a gram of weed. You know what I mean? I was into paying $20 for 7 or 8 grams of weed. That was cool, you know. So it was kind of a, and so
You priced yourself right out of the market for that.
yeah,
Shit.
totally did. But I was young, and it was what I could afford. So, I never really chased it. But when I got a little bit older, I tried chasing it, tried finding it, and I didn't really think that it existed. For a long time, I was like, he was probably using those flavor drops. The smaller
Something
dude
you don't
call
know,
them
yeah.
strawberry. Yeah, and I knew people were doing. I heard people talking about it, so I was like, that's all it was. But it wasn't like true blueberry smell like a flavor drop really smells like, right? It was that like floral blueberry kind of smell that we associate DJ Short's blueberry with. So then when I actually grew it out and I got that smell, I was like, man, it totally was. It was legit. But what I had, and it took me back, and it was, the sense of smell is just,
of course,
best sense. It'll take it back to your memories, and that's what it took me back to, was like early 2000s. Insane in the membrane.
Insane in the membrane. This is
insane in the brain.
I believe this is Ethos, and this was courtesy of my good friend Eagle Gardens. And I'm gonna get down on this and enjoy. This is, again, you're listening to The Late Sesh with Skilbo and Red. Hopefully everybody out there's got a little something tucked up in their own bowl and having a good day, or a good night, as it were.
Hey man, we were talking about inflammation a little bit, and on the last session we were talking about some of our elders. Sure. Yeah. We were talking about on our last little session about how to kind of coax some of our maybe elders or friends and family who aren't necessarily into cannabis, or just have a separate, different perception, or may have been maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say brainwashed, but
perhaps a prejudice coming into the effect
from whatever. So, anyways, I was looking into some other health benefits of just the leaves, like the vegetative growth of the plant, and high in just other phytocannabinoids aside, right? I guess that there is some value to the raw cannabinoid THCA, CBDA, CBD, and a lot of those. And what they will do is they will go in and they will help fight inflammation. They'll go in and help fight pain, and they won't get you high. So if you're somebody that's not necessarily looking to get high, but you do maybe want to medicate with cannabis, or at least attempt medicating with cannabis, it looks like you could potentially try juicing cannabis leaves, maybe making salads with leaves, or even fresh flowers if you wanted to use the flowers, or dried flowers. I would avoid dicarboxylating, which is something that we talk about often, and that's converting the THCA into the active THC compound, which
is broken by the use of heat. So that breaks off that acid chain at the end of the THC.
So there's a couple of things, you want to avoid, and one of them is cooking the compound. So if you begin to cook it with some oil or some butter or something, you may actually begin to dicarboxylate it, and you may feel some effects. So if you eat it raw, it'll lessen to almost have zero or negative effects. and I have heard some other evidence that says that it may actually dicarboxylate slightly depending on how much you actually eat and what other foods you can eat. Something to do with, I'm not sure what I've heard of people eating like in the
Mangoes.
smoothie specifically. No, not mango. I could see the entourage effect happening there, but it was like citrus specifically. Um, John Kohler from growingyourgreens.com. He's
Oh
he's
yeah,
a,
yeah, yeah.
if you've ever seen any of his videos, shout out to that dude. He's actually been
He's got a lot
promoting
of
some
videos.
cannabis and stuff lately, which is really awesome. So he is an avid juicer, and he was talking about actually getting high from juicing. So there are some cautions, but he also says that he eats it all the time and doesn't get high. He's only gotten high twice. Excuse me. And he thinks that it's because of some of the different citrus fruits and it potentially dicarboxylating in his gut. So I'm not sure there's any evidence behind that. I've never seen any
No,
science.
it's strictly anecdotal at this point. It's
Total
just,
anecdotal. It's total bro science. But it is just something that he's occurred. His I guess experience is that he has gotten high twice. Now I eat fair share of cannabis leaves often, but also medicate and smoke, sometimes throughout the day. But I never notice any psychoactive
do you
effects.
make smoothies?
I have not made smoothies specifically. I am in the market of trying to get a juicer sometime in the future, though, because I would like to really pull the juice out of it. You need a lot. They're not that, they wilt really fast, so they don't really hold a ton of water. But, when doing a heavy lollipopping or a hard prune,
Sure.
you know,
I would think when you take off those huge leaves that are closest to the main stem that you would find more moisture in those than perhaps the peripheral leaves at the outer edges.
Maybe in some petioles or something might have it too. Stem.
They're just so spicy. Sometimes they're just like spicy as shit, dude.
Some are
like peppery as fuck.
Yes, dude. The rosaberry, I can't eat rosaberry. Rosaberry will annihilate my taste buds. I just can't do it. However, the rainbow driver is delicious, man, and it's something that it almost, and so is the DJ Shorts blueberry. DJ Shorts blueberry is very palatable. You eat it and it's got a sweet edge to it, and it's hard to describe a consistency, but it almost gets a little like gritty, like it almost, I don't want to say sandy, but kind of like a type of a grit that's not bad. It's tolerable. And at that point, it can start to elevate in spice. This is specifically the DJ Short, but then it milds down and then it goes sweet. The Rainbow Driver is just sweet. And it's almost like, I don't want to compare it to like strawberries or anything that fruity, because it does taste like a leaf or something, but it's not bitter and it's not sour. And it's a lot more on like that fruit edge. And man, it's really delicious. So I think that that's one that I'm going to specifically direct towards juicing. And the Death Star is one too that I've always really favored as far as eating goes. It's been
and what's the Death Star like?
Well, it's not, it has an edge of spice to it, like you were talking about. And it's been so long since I've actually eaten it that I'm gonna have a hard time figuring.
When's the last time you floured that out?
But it's been over a year at this point. I'm flouring it right now.
You're just holding it though, like.
I have, yeah.
So did you grow it up? Just since we'll do this for a second, so you like grow the plant up to like 3 feet. Then you're like, okay, you either take clones off of it or you just whacking it back and letting it grow back.
I whack it back. Yeah. I go fabric pot so that the root self bonsai, and then I bonsai the top. I usually hold moms for about a year, and at this point, I have taken new moms of the Death Star. I still have one last round, and I'm going to take on that Death Star that's about a little over a year old at this point, and she's gone. I won't even flower it. At this point, it's mostly wooden stalk and stem. Yeah. I've had experience that it's just a waste of energy trying to flower those plants out. Or, I mean, they just get too big and get too close to the light or something happens. They take up too much resources. End up being too leafy or something. But you could potentially toss them outside.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't have like 12-foot fences or anything like that. So,
No, but what a
you
great
know,
idea would to do, like if you're going to get rid of your moms once a year,
mhm,
if you timed it around June 1st so that you could just hawk it outside and say, okay, have at it,
yep,
man. Do what you're
yep.
going to do, lady.
I think that's a great idea, honestly. I hate wasting them. I don't want to call it wasting the plant because really on an indoor, it's kind of unsalvageable at that point. I pull a bunch of clones off of it. I could re-veg it for another 2 weeks and then flower it, but at that point, it just takes up so much space. It's stalk and stem matter. I want to throw some new moms in the place and
Dude, one great
get a
thing
nice
about running a
fresh.
bed, if you do it, is that you can just start whacking them all up into like 1 inch pieces and then just feather it right into your beds, whether those are indoor or outdoor. If you have worms, you know what I mean? That can be both your green and your brown to go in there and get that cycle kicking for you.
That's kind of one of those nice things about the leaves drying up so fast too, is it adds up that brown material really quick.
Right.
Yeah, I don't do that indoor. Just being in cocoa. I would if I
No,
had a soil bed or something,
but
man.
if you're
I'd put a
outside,
little
I
bit in there.
mean, you know what I mean? There you go.
Yep. Oh, all my spare leaves, they go into my no-till beds.
Right.
All my stems, everything goes into my no-till beds. I
And how
wanted to
old are
start.
those now?
They're only a year old right now. My other
Okay.
beds that I have been composting in are about 4 years old, but I started those off with terrible terrible knowledge to back my techniques of what I was using. I just used a bunch of like manure and topsoil, and I even threw in like perlite and peat moss and stuff, trying to make like almost thinking that I was making like a container blend
Right.
using like the perlite.
That's what it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. So I kind of had my thought. I was like, I'd been doing so much like cannabis indoor like research, old school cannabis indoor research, right? That I was that's all I kind of knew for like
Surfing the
outdoor,
forums.
yeah. So like, and I am like totally one of those cases that went from cannabis grower to loving like growing vegetables and growing food and growing for health and stuff like that. Like it all started with cannabis for me.
Anthocyanthins, right?
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, the purple plants, man. Purple peppers,
Purple
everything. Dude, I
veggies
love
is
it.
a red
Purple
thing, man.
veggies, man. Yeah,
Should
totally.
be Purple Center Farms.
Right, man. Yeah. I love it, dude. Oh man, I did. First vegetable garden, I had purple peppers and I had purple beans, and I was already into it. First cannabis plant was the purple bic, big intoxicating cannabis, BIC. Lit it with a purple bic lighter. This isn't purple bic lighter, but you know what I mean.
What year is that?
2009, maybe.
Okay.
2008.
How long did you hold that for?
Almost. Let's see, I grew it all summer and it got really big, and then my roommate was like, you have to get rid of that, it's getting a little bit too big. So I was like, all right, can I shorten it a little bit? He's like, yeah, make it smaller. So I cut it in half. It wasn't flowering yet. I cut it in
that's
half.
right. Yeah.
Stuck top of it, stuck the top of it in the ground next to it. So now I had 2 plants. The other one, it lasted for about 3 weeks, and then it eventually like died or whatever. Eventually we started getting towards a little bit towards September. He's like, man, I'm a teacher. I can't get caught with this. You got to get rid of this thing, man. I don't care if it's medically legal, whatever. You got to get rid of it. So it was starting to flower at this point. I took it inside. I uppotted it. It was in the ground. I uppotted it, took it up into the attic of the house, had a buddy come by and take a look at it, and it was like starting to flower. He's like, oh man, you got a nice female here. I got a gymnasium light. It's a nice 1,000-watt, white metal ballast with this giant globe of a bulb attached to it. And he's like, we'll mount this thing up in your attic rafters. And so my attic was 120 degrees for the next 2 or 3 months while this thing re-vegged and turned back into this giant octopus of about I never took a weight off of it, but if I had to guess, it was pound plus, pound 0.25. It was just this giant plant in the attic. I did nothing special to it. I had it in normal dirt from the backyard, and I fed it not Miracle Grow, but probably nothing better. It was just some good old blue fertilizer with a high phosphorus. I knew enough to go low N, high P, and low K. And that's about all I knew. So I did that through the full season, hooked up my homie with some clones, and he hooked me up and let me borrow the light. And that was the first successful crop that I ever grew. I grew everything in cardboard boxes. Or I'm sorry, I dried everything in cardboard boxes. Took the threaded
line.
nice lines and put some holes in the cardboard boxes, and they dried up in there. I had a good 7-8 cardboard boxes set up. I worked in a kitchen, so I had access to nice chicken wing boxes and stuff like that. Yeah, man. it was a great run.
The sweet tastes like fried chicken.
It grew purple too, so it's gone back since my first plant. It's always been a purple plant. So well, my first plant goes way back, but that got taken away and tried to get resold to me by some shady dude.
Okay, so what's the next purple strain that you've got your eye on? That if you were going to go out and nab something, what would you get?
It's kind of hard, man. I've been a little bit disappointed with some of the purples as of lately. I really did enjoy the I was disappointed by the Girls Gone Wild just for how flashy it was. I guess that's really all it had. It was like 11% THC, no CBD, which is even more disappointing.
Yeah, for sure.
And incredibly low on terpenes. Just, I mean, it might as well have been bushweed. I don't want to call it bushweed because it's still good smoke. Like, I enjoy it. It's got a nice daytime high. It's not really one of those it's asked multiple times. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, it makes a nice hash. It does make a nice hash. And I would be interested, I'd imagine the hash tests around what a nice potent flower would. So, or it might make a good edible, but it does have a nice, like, grapefruit type flavor. And, yeah, like you said, it's nice. But anyways, that PB souffle was really, really good. I'd like to see that come back. And the next one, that purple, I kind of have my eye on. It's not really a true perp, but it likes to do that fade perp thing. Is the candied grapes. Really has that nice, like, rubber, like that fresh rubber smell kind of to it. And it's a little bit on the sweeter edge. I don't know. Almost similar to like the GMO, a little skunky, kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice. That's archive.
But it doesn't have a grape undertone to it? Or?
Slight, not much. It's not very fruity. It's more on that skunky, dank, dude. Yeah, it's really nice. But that one is grape pie and Skittles, I think. Might be grape pie Moonbow or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's grape pie and something. But that's archive.
So what are you popping next?
Well, I'm definitely gonna do that pineapple tie cross from 2020 or that one from the grow off. It's basically gonna do a fem run. It's gonna be those and pretty much all archive. So I've got in stock, it's Do Lato, which is in gelato. Yeah, it's basically their cross of it. But it's actually, I want to say it's Dozy Do, and it's not gelato. It's Dozy Do and maybe it is gelato. I don't know, man. I'd have to look it up, but I was thinking it might have been another one of their crosses in Dozy. But anyways, Rainbow Belts is another one of the fem lines I think I got. And then there's the Pineapple Express and Moonbow, which is, oh man, off the top of my head, Rose Gold. Rose Gold. Yeah, I'm really excited to run that one. That was one that Fletcher was showcasing on a podcast that I saw him on. So I'm pretty excited. It's kind of one of his faves, so I'm excited to hunt a pack of that. I'm only going to do like half packs, I think. They're like 6 packs because they're fem. So I'm going to do like 3 off of each. See what kind of a phenotype array I have, and if I like it, I'll go for more from there.
Sure.
But I think I'm going to try to do a good, like, probably between all of the different crosses, a good like 12 to 18 different phenos. I'm gonna try to keep it around maybe like 6 different strains. I think I got enough packs to do that.
I think I got enough packs to do that. Yeah, I can cover.
If I do like 3, well, I've been kind of slowly collecting some of these archive packs on this Moonbow It's not all Moonbo. I'm sorry. It's just like it's kind of like this new fem line. Like they got there is a gelato dozy fem, but it's a different one. But that's not the do lato. Like I said, I don't think it's gelato on that one. So it's got to be something different. But I did get the regulars of that too. So I'm actually more excited to pop the regulars. But that's going to be a completely different hunt down the line. Which I'm excited because that's Royal Oak in that hunt. And I mean, I got a couple. I'm going to go back to on the regs. I'm going to go back to trying to pop those slurricanes, those slurricane F1s, man. Yeah. Talk about 5 ounces to a ball jar, 6 ounces to a ball jar. That's some dense nug meat, dude. Like
That's nice.
actual golf balls, the way like golf balls. Really wild. I'm over exaggerating with that, but almost. Not far off, to be honest with you. Big
No,
nug
all of
meat,
those
man.
I've enjoyed.
That's a purple I'm excited for. Slurricane. Full circle.
Full circle.
I love it, bro.
Purple
Dude,
Dick Slurricane.
Yeah, dude. That was you know, it was never meant to be. I didn't really know how to clone or anything like that.
Nah.
But man, if I would love to run into that dude that I gave the clones to. And it would be really cool if he was like, you know what?
Oh,
I still have
stop
that
it.
plant laying around, dude.
I
That'd
got
be
that from
wild,
12
wouldn't it?
years ago, man. I'm still holding it in perpetuity.
Maybe not him, but maybe he gave it to a dude who loaned him for a light. Who gave him to a dude who loaned it for a light.
Somewhere
Hey,
out there,
if you
that
got a plant out
gymnasium
there,
light is fucking still floating around making 125-degree
that's
attics.
what I mean, dude. Yep. There's a gymnasium light somewhere out there floating around, hardwired to a 3-prong 110 volt
Fire hazard.
fire hazard. The roof glowed
shit.
on that house. The house smelled like skunks. I had to move
Every
really
fucking
fast.
show that I do with Red, at some point we do go off the rails, folks. That's part of the late session. This
Started talking
is
about
that.
purple cannabis, man, and off the rails we
There
went.
we go. She go. Baby, come back. No. All right.
I love it, man. No, I do. You can blame it all on me. I know where you're going. Oh man,
Nice recovery,
dude. The cannabis culture is just great, dude. It's you know, I feel like it's been a part of my life for a very long time. We were talking about a little bit over a decade ago.
Yeah.
I was doing my thing in probably a bachelor pad, and I just got my dog, and yeah, man. And what's cool is he's been around for the ride this whole time. So, but that first plant that got ripped off and tried getting sold back to me,
Beautiful
it only made me
loser.
stronger. I love that. I'm gonna try that, man.
Man,
your smoke review of that sounds great.
Man, we got blown out like birthday candles, man. Damn.
Well, let's give the viewers a smoke review on it. What's that? What's that taste like? What's that smell like? Let's start there.
It has like a really fresh, I can't even describe it. Like a peppery. I don't know.
I love the
horrible
peppery.
at it.
Ooh, yeah.
It's pretty, but I'm horrible at trying to get things to focus in.
You know, sometimes those peppery strains can almost alleviate my headache just by taking a whiff of the container.
Yeah, it's somewhere along the lines of like it's not flowery, and it's not a sweet like smell on the open. There's like a whole new. You remember like before when they used to have the. You know what? It's
Death Star a little bit.
Somebody out there is gonna be like, dude, you're absolutely way the fuck off. But I have a horrible. It's a funny thing. As someone who works in the food industry, you would think that I have this like phenomenal, like gourmand taste bud thing. Like, oh man, I smoke a lot, so I've like wrecked my taste buds.
Yeah, me too. I'm like,
you know what I mean? I can give you like. I'm really good at describing how it affects me, not so much how the taste is. But once you tell me what it is, then I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Like the first thing that I had was the Primal Punch F2, and we had talked about that. That's a pet grower, and it is like breakfast cereal bananas to me. It's just like, wow, love it. You know, and Eagle has ran it for, I really think he said he's almost been running this a couple of times now. So he's got it to the point where he likes it, and I just really approve of it. So it's always, it's like, it's cool to do late sessions and live streams and podcasts and stuff, but there's something to being able to actually sit down across from someone and offer up some smoke, share it, and just have the same kind of conversation you're having right now. We do this in lieu of that, like, but you know what I'm saying.
You know, I don't think I did it to everybody. I just kind of like when we all met up at the last little gathering. And by the way,
shout out to Old Man Hermit Hash.
I was just gonna do the same thing, man. A, for that gathering. B, because the first time I ever had anything flavored banana was his blue banana. Blue nana.
I have some.
Oh man, that was just so good for outdoor. And
for outdoor, it's just smash mouth.
It's just so great. It just held the flavor so well. I was really impressed with that. Shout out to Old Man Hermit Hash for that.
And the garlic cane and the Carmella, all three.
Dude, they're all just great fire.
Yeah.
I thought I had a jar of weed in my hands, but it's a jar of hash. So.
Oh well, there you go. Cheers.
So, anyways, not to veer off topic too much, but I did. It was great because Skilla, you were probably one of a couple. I might have did it to everybody, but I think I only did it to a handful of you. But I was like, "Here, check this jar out. Here, check this."
No, that was me.
Here, check this jar out.
Yeah. No, it's because I swarmed you when you were out in the front of the shop. Everybody else was in the back, and I was like, "Bro, what's in the cool ass briefcase?" So that's how we got down on that.
You do. You want to just? I want to see everything that you've got going, like that key one on copper. I can't wait to get to try that. And
I gave Eagle some of that. Yeah. The thing that I get people that report on that is they'll be like, first of all, it's crazy because there is like a copper color to it. It finishes with some serious fucking orange hairs. But secondly, it's very, very sedative. Very sedative. So like if you're dealing with some insomnia issues, everyone that I've given it to, I've said, this is some sleepy go night stuff now. Easy.
See, that's interesting, man, because by the way that it looks, I would almost think that it would have more stimulating effects because it almost looks, I don't want to say it looks like a sativa or anything, but it almost has that like like
it is
type,
I always get this wrong, but I talked to Silver Squirrel, shout out to him, always answers DMs, fellow Michigander, so much love to him. I've grown several of his genetics out. I am running I call it the KC2 because it's the Keweenaw Copper F2. And it's just, dude, it's a cross between a 1995 male Afghani and an old Plushberry. So that's like TGA. And it's just finishes fast. It really finishes in like 56 days. And I think it's the Afghani unit that's doing that. So, but definitely reach out to him. That is Silver Squirrel Farms on Instagram.
That's all. Shout out to him, man. I really, really enjoy those pictures you were sharing. Underneath all of that copper-colored fuzz that was going on, that Brillo pad of
the hairy bitch
of a forest that was on that thing was just like platinum trichomes, almost like that blue-gray. It was really nice.
Well, that's the first time that I have. Excuse me, I'm trying not to cough here.
It must be that plush.
It's dank. What did I just grind? I just ground up the Beautiful Loser by Eagle. So it's just like, it's like Expando. It's really, really tasty, but you have to go easy on it. It's like, oh, she'll get you. And like I said, I may have already said this. I know I said it to you, but I don't know if I said it on the camera or not, but it was like the size of a thumb. So it was like, damn, crazy.
Yeah, on the complete opposite end of your spectrum there, I have this hash that is it was a strain called Dementia that I no longer have. I had the last of a whole bunch of like flour that went through some pH issues, and it was just popcorn, and it wasn't going anywhere. I just couldn't even get through it for my own personal smoke. There was just so much of it, so I turned into a whole bunch of bubble hash, and
Did it yield anything?
yeah, it yielded some great full spectrum bubble hash, let's say, because I kind of whipped it pretty good.
Macerated it.
Yeah, really good. I really wanted to get the yield out of it. I just wanted to get as much of that flour I could out of it as possible. It's all personal.
You don't mind.
No, not at all. I want to use it for edible. I want to use it for whatever I need to.
Right.
But man, it really pulled out the stimulating effects out of it. It's Amnesia Haze
speeds, huh?
and Blue Dream. Yeah, it was really
Blue Dream is a haze too, though.
Yes. So it's like just
Double
dual haze. Yeah. Get ready to rock and roll. It aged really well. It still has stimulating effects, even though the flowers would now be over a year old, year and a half,
right?
Maybe even longer than that. But this hash was made in like August, so you'd think that it would have converted or something, but I don't think so. I think that we got a lot of nice stimulating effects still retained.
So I'm super stoned, but I did remember where I was going with that whole thing.
Oh yeah,
that Keweenaw Copper was the first time that I floured under the 4K. So I bought one of those. It's like a 240 watt quantum board. It's NEMI. The company's out of business, but I really, really dig the light. And I bought it to use in bed since it's 4K, but I wanted to run one of those kind of personal experiment things where I was like, you know what? I have this quadrant of the bed that's not really super illuminated. And I've got this Keweenaw that didn't really stretch out and fill out the net. It's tall, but it didn't really reach out. So if I put this basically 2-foot fucking light over top of it, and I set it at like 18 inches, what's it going to do? So the picture that I sent you before is basically what that was looking like after the yield. That's not with the light on. That's with the lights off and then just my flash on there. So of course it makes it look like it's dripping as it is, but really, really happy with it, man. It's been, as a grower, one of the things that I'm always looking to keep parked in my fucking jars is something that I can use again and again and again and again and again and get results for pain with. So it's like a chimera thing, you're always looking for it. It's out there, but maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. So I find something, I park it in the jar for a while, I start using it, and then if something comes along and bumps you out, then maybe you slide into the other jar position, or it's just what you do as a grower. You don't keep stuff forever. That's why nobody still has the purple Bic, brother. She gone. Baby, come back.
As much as I want to keep it, yeah, I don't blame it. It was old Spindly's octopusy looking plant anyways, so whatever.
Well, anyways, think about something like abolished plant. What we call the abolished OG is a cheese, but this cheese is really, really old. It's been around forever, so I guess that makes it aged cheese. But it's nothing like. Even he said a couple of shows ago, or maybe it was last Sunday, that he recently got to try the guys that still has it, and it's completely different than his. Like nothing to do it the same. So it's
it wouldn't have been the same anyways. I was really interested in you were talking about that Keweenaw Copper having a really early flower time.
Yeah.
Which sounds about right with the sedating effects. Yeah. How was it? So how was it for stretching? Since you're talking about training it and stuff. Does it stretch at all?
Decent, yeah, decent, but not like out of control. I'm thinking, I don't know. People always say like 100% stretch, but I grow big ass fucking plants before I ever put them in beds. Yeah. So I always think in terms of how many inches of growth that I see of it, rather than like percentage of it. So I typically see 12 to 14 inches of growth when I put it into flower, but I usually throw them in when they're like 2 feet. So
okay, right on.
been lucky on guessing, like, when you juggle so many strains, with a scrog, they don't all have to be the same height. You can work with it somewhat. But then, like the first time that I ran this GG4, I just finished it, is like it took up so much more of the net than I had anticipated that it would, that it ended up like coming out of the side of, like it's parked on one side of the 4x4, and like it came all the way up the side and shit. And I'm like tying it back in so that it stays under the light. That plant is amazing.
Yeah, I really like plants that are easily trainable, well to manage. They
Yeah, I don't want
grow
to have
out of
something that I
control.
have to like go crazy trimming on. Like if it's one of those things where it's going to be 4 hours to trim one plant, not that, like that's a bad thing, but dude, I don't have the endurance to do that if I'm taking down more than one plant at a time. If that's what I'm doing, because I'm using a 4x8 bed. So, I have to think in terms of like my limitations and logistics of the whole thing. Because sometimes you have to make an executive decision. It may be great smoke, but is it worth holding on to? Is it, like maybe it's like phenomenal smoke, but it only gives you like half of what you're normally returning on a plant. Is it worth keeping? I don't know. It's up to you. It's an executive decision. Or you have something that will yield like crazy, but it throws 11% at you. Okay, so do you want to have a lot of something that you're going to need to use more of? Well, I don't know. I mean, that's an executive decision. That might be something that you want. I don't know. It's your garden, your grow, your rules. Do what you want.
Dude, I would say if this was 2008, 2009, and we were just getting going, and I had that 11% Girls Gone Wild that throws, it probably has the potential of putting out a couple 3 pounds under a single 1,000
Substantial.
watt. It's, yeah, dude. The thing's a beast. It grows like it's like a purple sativa.
So
Crazy.
that's the perfect plant for someone who's older that is dealing with maybe
Yes.
some kind of like energy issue, maybe
Yes.
possibly depression or something, that hasn't smoked, that doesn't want to get blown out. They still want to remain semi-active because they're an active person. Let's just make this shit
Yes.
up on
It,
the
it
fly.
has
Why
it
not,
has
right?
pinene in it
Right. So this
a
could
little bit.
be somebody's perfect medicine where like I don't want to grow my entire fucking backyard or my entire basement of these plants. But if I just pop one plant, me and my spouse can use this for the whole year because they don't need that much of it. You know what I mean? So that's really economical.
And
Could
I
be a
have
good reason.
actually,
That's an executive position. That's the person that wants that.
through my last garden call, I did not kick it. I still have the mom, and I actually took a couple new moms of it, knowing its genetic potential is low. I don't want to say genetic potential is low, knowing its cannabinoid potential is low. Um, I could probably throw some higher numbers at it. I'm sure. Like it sat around and cured for like 4 weeks before I was like, I think I'm gonna get this tested.
Did you take a
Um,
top that was tested? Is that like the best you could
no,
do?
not really. I just kind of reached in there and kind of took. I wanted to get like what I considered a homogenized type sample. So I just went with whatever was in there.
Okay.
I definitely don't know if it was a top. That's for sure. It was out of the bucket. I'm sure it could have pulled better numbers. Uh, like I said, it's good smoke.
I mean,
I did
I don't
keep,
know.
I did keep it around, man. So, but I'm kind of
But
keeping it
how
around
many of
because it
those
makes me
seeds did you
fresh.
pop?
Um, well, I popped like 3 or 4. One
And
of
they're
them was
regs,
was a
right?
they were regs. I had a couple
Okay.
males that got booted. And I want to say it was on. I want to say I had a 10 pack, and I'm sure like a few of them didn't pop.
So did you
Uh,
get two females?
I had a couple females. I
Okay.
had actually this last time around, I had I think another female that I got rid of before this one, but there was another one that went around for a little while. I didn't really keep the clone, but I gave it to my buddies, and they had it for a long time. Really nice golf ball, dense nugs, and it had this like blueberry pancake type of a smell to it, but it was not purple.
So
This one was
definitely a
great.
different pheno. So it could have
Totally
had different
different
numbers,
totally different
and that
pheno.
came from your pack.
Way different. That one had better numbers. Way better numbers. It was way more frosty.
But you got suckered in by the purple, my friend.
Yeah, well, you know, it was. I had that seed sitting around for like I didn't even. I mean, this was 3 years ago, 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago that I had grown it, and then I had the seed sitting around for a couple years, popped it back out, grew it. Probably a year and a half ago, I think I hunted it. It was like, whoa, this thing's really purple. I had some buddies that were like, whoa, you need to grow a lot of that. So I did, and then it kind of sat around for a little
Here
while.
we are.
And here we are. And that's how the game, the art of cannabis works, you know.
Hey, I just it's the luck of the draw. You know what I mean? That's
trial
what
and
some
error.
people love that
Yep.
though. Some people love that it's like buying a pack of trading cards. You don't know what's going to be in there, but let's say that you are growing. I don't know. You're growing something. What are we thinking of? What's that old one? The Chernobyl, right? Chernobyl had a couple of different ones. It was like a golden ticket or a Slimer or something. I can't remember what it was. It's too many years ago, but basically you knew there were a couple of like killer phenos in this pack. And so you get a 10 pack and you pop it and you go, man, so what are my odds? Let's say that I got 10 seeds.
Yeah.
You always do this. You'll be like, so 5 of them are going to be female. So I think that I got a 40% chance of hopefully you do that stupid shit with yourself, but it's optimism, man.
The good one is the cherry AK. Like how many AKs do you gotta pop to get a cherry AK? Because I heard it's like a 1 in 80 or 1 in 100 pheno.
It's funny because I could find cherry AK up until like 2014, I think, at one dispensary I used to go to. Shout out to the old Holistic Earth that used to be in Davison. They had it, but they didn't have the regular AK. And so for me, I was like always leery to pull the trigger on that one because I was like, ooh, it's like something completely different. And maybe if the pinene's not really pronounced in this one, maybe it's not going to be like the ticket that I would want it to be. So sometimes you get scared because you have to worry about your numbers. And, you don't have time to grow every freaking thing out in the world. I know we all wish we could and definitely sample it all. But, you have finite time and finite space and finite numbers. So you only can run so many things. Can't juggle genetics like that. That gets to become very tedious.
No, because you wanna try to keep it around. So you're probably gonna either pull a clone or try to re-veg, and your safest option is probably to try to pull a clone.
Typically, think about it like this: you're either holding 2 or 3 of the same thing at any given time. So let's say that I have one that I just threw into flower. I have one that I took as a clone that is now like a team to follow. And then I have one that I just took as a clone off of that. So I'm holding 3 in order to hold one thing. Or I can live dangerously and just, be that kind of dude that gets 100% on my clone rates for anything. And I can just play that 1-in-1 game. But a lot of people hold a mother. So, you know what I mean? There's always, I don't know.
Do you think? Well, not do you think. What if you could get the same? What if you knew a genetic line was stable enough? Like let's say F4.
That's always
F5.
been the dream. Yeah.
Let's say you could pop a pack and not have to worry about taking clones. Would you go that route?
Absolutely. That's why I am not anti-feminized seed. I almost prefer them just for the reasons I had stated is I am looking for a very specific effect. Whatever that may be. It may, it doesn't necessarily have to be brain fog. Sometimes it's back pain. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's a little bit of PTSD. Sometimes I just want to get fucking high. And so do you. And so do you. That's why we're here. So, like I said, if I have a good example is Black Domina. Okay. Now, Black Domina back in the day, I had thought was like an F4, F5, whatever it was. It's an old seed. that was like the original black pepper seed to me. That was, I like really, really liked it. And then when I got it as a clone from somebody, it was the burnt rubber skunk smell, Black Domina, not the black pepper spicy one. I liked it, but not the same effect.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah.
A lot of people go just by flavor. They're like, oh, I really like the pineapple one. Or, oh, I really like the tall one. Or I really, really like the short one. But rarely do you get the people that go, I really like the headband one. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, ooh, it looks like headband. I mean, this shit gives me a fucking headband. Or like when you and I were at Old Man's house and it was me, you, and Coma Guy Mike. We smoked the Crescendo that Sequence had bought, remember? We were like, dude, like, you were like, this shit's like mildly psychedelic. And I said, yeah, can you feel it? And you were like, yeah, totally. It's like right bridge of the nose and like third eye. And I love when you smoke with somebody and you both get like the exact same, you know, the shit hits differently. But when you both get like the same effect from it, I
Yep.
always kind of think that
Well,
shit's cool. It's like a shared
what
experience on the smoke.
what makes it more psychedelic to me isn't so much the mental effect as it is the physical effect. Like the way I feel it in my
Yeah.
cheeks and the way I feel it in my nose is very
Yeah.
similar to a psychedelic experience.
Right.
You feel it, you feel it here, and you feel it here,
Mhm.
and you tingle, and that was very tingling.
That Blue Nana is like that. Old Man's, when you really, really get on it, it'll give you the face tingles too. So,
Yeah, it makes you want to giggle too.
oh, yeah, definitely. I guess that's a good point to once again say thanks to everybody out there that's, checking this out, listening to the late Sesh. I'm Skilbo1. He is Red Setter Farm. And basically, this is just us on here kicking it, smoking. We tell you what we're smoking. We hope that you're right along here with us. Just kicking it.
Yeah, it is actually a really nice, smooth sesh, man. I'm enjoying it. I put some dementia on top of some Granddaddy Purple. Well, the dementia hash on top of some Granddaddy Purple, and it's nice. It's gonna ride this wave. You know, the Granddaddy Purple is gonna go down like this, and the dementia is gonna take me up like this. So I'm hoping it's just gonna kind of keep me on that nice plane right
I'm
there.
trying to think of where I started. When we started this, I was, what the hell was I smoking? The Primal Punch is where I started. And then I went to the Insane in the Membrane, to the Beautiful Loser. And what are we going to close this with?
Having a whole nice little
Shout
flavor
out. Yeah,
palette
man.
going on over there.
I've like fallen in love with
Flavor
this
wheel.
other one, this OGO. Oh man, this one's nice.
And what's that one smell like? Does that one smell like
It smells like OG.
Fire OG or like it smells like OG? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm. All right. So it's got that. A little bit of gas, a little bit of pine, a little bit of funk.
That's a strain from yesteryear that I really would love to see revisited. Is the diesel. There's still the mythical sour diesel that's out there and the New York City diesel. But just to get a really good one, it's always an enjoyable smoke for me.
My favorite's always been the East Coast Sour Diesel.
Mm-hmm.
East Coast Sour Diesel. Yeah. Man, like just it had almost like that little. It had that duckbill leaf. You know what I'm talking about? Kind of had
Yeah.
a little flat hook leaf. Super super dark green with like super super light green bracts and just almost gilded hairs. I mean, oh my gosh, man, what a excellent cultivar that was. I mean, flowers the size of 2-liter bottles. I mean,
See if I can get this to show up on this background here.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that just fine. OGO?
Yeah. Oh wait, since I'm showing this pack off here, you see this one? finest Canorado.
I'm trying to see which strain it is, but I'm digging. Oh, dope, sweet, dude. Okay. Speaking of,
Speaking of,
speaking of,
shout out to Meds in the Country.
have you popped
Hooked
any
me
of
up
those
with
yet?
these. Yeah, I did. I did
Cool,
run those.
cool. Yeah,
Very
that's that
nice.
one that
It's that
Abolished
Dosey
really,
Do,
really
man. Dosey
likes.
Do and Lava Cake.
Lava Cake, dude. Ooh.
I'm like, I know that it's not the coolest thing in the world to like, oh, I really like this one new strain, but every time that I've had just like pure Dosey Do, I know it when I smell it. You know, somebody tells me what it is, and I'm just like, yep, that's what that is. And every time I smoke it, man, I get like halfway through the joint and I'm blown out. Like, damn, I fucking love smoking this stuff.
It's frosty, real frosty.
Tastes great, it's dense. It's a really nice experience, man. Shout out to Dab Smiths. I got to sample some of his. It was ice cream cake when we did the one Sesh for a Cause at Holmes Davao. Shout out to them. I know they listen to the live stream on Sunday nights. Anybody out there listening that doesn't know about that, what we're talking about is the Bro Show live stream that we also run on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube on the Michigan Bros Grow Show channel. Hope to see you there. Trying to get a little smoother here as we move along. Grind this up. Oh my God, Brett, I wish you could smell this. I hope this isn't like annoyingly loud because I really don't want to mute my microphone. I want this to be.
It'll be cannabis consumers and the cannabis community that ends up creating smell-o-vision out of necessity.
I'm the worst person in the world to just do this all the time. Anytime I grind up some new stuff, I just get like the grins from it. Kate always says, you know, like always like so happy. Like, dude, I'm happy I get to see all kinds of cool people that I don't get to see all the time. I always know I'm gonna get to smoke some of the best shit that I've ever had. Meet some new people, man. That is awesome.
It's one of my favorite
love
things.
The Michigan cannabis community.
Oh, dude, yeah, man. One of my favorite things is watching people smile when they smell a jar of weed. Like from stiff face, they go like this. You do this. It's a jar. Sorry about that loud noise, but then it's and it's probably 80% of the time you get that nice little smile that pops off of there. I'm gonna mute the mic before I turn that back. Blow everybody's ears out with that spinning jar lid.
A clean one. I just picked up some new ones this week. The larger ball jars. You know, the ones that, I hate to say it this way, but the ones that hold a buck QP. The tall boys. I just picked some of those up for $9.99 at Meijer. So it's like a, what is it, 8-pack, I think? Yeah, 8. 6 or 8, something like that. Anyway, those are always nice. Wow, this stuff is pretty.
I found the switch. I decided to switch over to glass for when my patients need their products, and I have found that they return them, and it perpetuates a recycling cycle, which is pretty awesome. And so
because they want to keep getting in glass too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so now all I do is I'm not huge into washing I'll just run the glass jars through a dishwasher. And I'm not huge on washing the rings or lids. So a lot of times I'll replace them. They'll just get rusty if you don't.
They're cheap enough.
With them. Yeah, they're cheap enough. But I'll recycle them, I'll toss them in the tin bin. And so the lids are cheap enough that I can just, use those. Yeah, I think you can get them in bulk elsewhere. I really got to look into them.
Yeah, you can get them at like Walmart.
They have the generic golden kind of lids and bands. So those ones always work just the same. Yeah, man. I moved over to glass, trying to be a little more friendly with that. I like it, man, because it keeps the fragrance alive a lot better. I was finding, oh, this is a great tip, man. I was finding like bleeding from, I would stash like old trim and stuff like that into some gallon bags. Well, eventually I learned you got to stash your gallon bags elsewhere, because if you got your gallon bags sitting in the same places like your garbage bags these days are all scented garbage bags like crazy. You can get unscented garbage bags, but there's a good chance that there's some bags in your cabinet that just smell like potpourri, which is drifting right into your gallon bags, which when you stuff it full of your trim, it's going to make some nice edibles. You open it up and then it smells like a box of dryer sheets or something. It
That's
just
why you
doesn't
should have
sound
your
good.
own cupboard that you keep all of your cannabis
Yep.
accoutrements in, man.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's
keep
the
that
pro
shit
tip.
all to yourself.
Keep it all separate,
I
Definitely.
do. I have a whole cabinet that
If you use
has
plastic, I suppose.
it has all the stuff that I use to make tincture and to roll on and all the other bullshits, where I keep like the oven bags, the turkey oven bags for if I do a decarb. I use like I have my own, like the 9x9 Pyrex that I, put the cannabis on. Then I use the oven bag, put it around there, and I just pull a zip tie around it. And then when I'm done, I just clip the zip tie off. It seems to work pretty well. But you can, keep it that way. Um, but you should have a certain place that you keep most of your stuff, because you are a high on, and when you start letting things get into different places, you forget where it is. And we already have a problem with time management as it is sometimes, it seems. So it's better to know where your shit's at rather than waste, time pissing your future self off because you put some shit weird places.
Remember, you're on weed man time, or at least you're considered to be on weed man time, so always be on time. Break the stigma.
Break the cycle.
Gotta break the stigma. I'm always trying to be on time.
The punctual
right.
stoner. And I think
hard,
that's
man.
probably a good place for us to cap it off for the week. Just another week, man. I hope that this
we're
one
talking about
treats everybody
punctuality
well.
now.
Yeah, man. It is what it is.
I love it. No, I love it. That's exactly where the cannabis round took us, right?
Pretty much. Smoked a lot of good strains. Talked about some shit. Talked about some old strains. Good time was had by all.
It was an excellent session, Scobo. I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate you bringing me down here, man.
Hey.
To the late sesh.
And once again, I'm Skillbo1 on Instagram, and he is.
I'm Red Setter Farm on Instagram. Appreciate you all.
Later.